So don't be intimidated. Wherever you are, do what you can. If all you could do is identify the word end, which is vav, the vi or va, as it appears at the beginning of a word, fantastic. But there are other, but these are the 4 categories we're going to start with. Don't worry about others.
I'll send everyone a note.
Okay. So this is my see, it becomes very pretty.
Yes.
It's fun to do, but I knew you could do it in.
Jack, quickly, and then we'll go to the offering because we really want to get through 10 of them.
Yes, Rabbi, if you don't know the root, can you go Google that word and say, what is the root? Can you?
Sure, you can. What I don't want you to do is be too intimidated.
Right.
There are sources also, like Harold has pointed out, there's an app, of course, and you could look it up. I'm going to tell you something. There'll be mistakes even there. Again, biblical Hebrew has many mysteries to it. There's things we can know, things we could not know, and things that we don't know, right? So don't be too intimidated. Absolutely, if you feel comfortable using resources to do research, go ahead. But if you don't want to do that, it's really fine. This is not a test. This is to start. We're going to use, because Psalm 23, first of all, is so famous, but secondly, it's so small. Six verses give us, and the words are very rich.
57 words.
57 words. It'll give us, and the Hebrew is actually in some places very direct, and in some places very poetic, therefore not direct, poetic. So it gives us a lot of opportunity, but get used to thinking about those 4 things to look for in a biblical text in Hebrew. And it's a way of developing a new muscle that we haven't focused on in class. I've made references to. But again, people like Debbie and Sherry and Yael and Ben and Ora and other people who have more of a Hebrew background are going to react. It's going to be different. But even if wherever you are, I want you to feel comfortable with your level and not feel intimidated.
So I'll send out a note, and on Tuesday when the rabbis in Jerusalem will be doing just this, and we will handhold, and we will make sure that everybody understands what's going on.
And it really becomes fun. And I still do it when I'm studying a text, and I need to I play with the text physically and with colors and with trying to understand. So don't feel, above that.
All right.
Okay.
So, we're hoping to get to 10 offerings today. I put it in the chat. Sherry Dratfield, you are first.
Thank you, Harold. Holy Land, 18 May 2021, after Psalm 22. Oh, please. Oh, no. We are forsaken. Our children, our doe mourning, taken by missiles scoring, shearing darkness with blinding shards. They sear skin, tear limbs, exposed bone, leave only the roar of lions, mourning wails. Who nurses faith from mother's breasts? Who is left to eat their fill? Womb to tomb, we scavenge hope from bombed buildings as though it were a child rescued from the rubble. Then what? When like water I am all poured out. When my heart turns to melting wax, when worm-like I can no longer stand or kneel, when all my clothes are heaped at the curb, then what? Naked as a newborn, I cry, now what? Besieged, I see the face of one boy lifted, covered in death's dust, by 18 hands, 9 faces anguished, still straining against collapsed concrete. This boy reaches up, clutched by strangers' arms. We are not forsaken.
Wow. To end this, we are not forsaken. Sherry, spectacular. Okay, speak to us.
Well, for me, I could think only of the confluence of our reading of Psalm 22 with the advent of these new horrors triggered by the Israeli desecration of the Mount during Ramadan. Mm-hmm. So I relied very heavily on the imagery of the Psalm. Thank you, Psalmist. Psalm 22 and my poem begin with a sense of abandonment and despair. I mean, what are Hamas and Netanyahu but ravenous wild animals and enemies threatening the psalmist, annihilating our children, our mourning? I mean, intent on dividing, taking our clothing, our holy land for themselves. I mean, how else to see today's scene of war, missiles, explosions, and bombed out buildings? So I use the same images of the psalm woven into a despair's, not me, despair's quest for hope and faith. And I found a sort of a childlike vulnerability and innocence in this quest. But while the psalmist exhorts the reader not to lose hope, to praise a God who will deliver the psalmist and all of Israel, the poem just provides one small, concrete, excuse the expression, example of divine deliverance in the form of just the hands and the faces of Gazan strangers rescuing just one child from the rubble. I mean, hopefully the poem, like the psalm, ends on somewhat a note of hope and faith.
Very beautiful and very powerful. Thank you so much, Sherry.
Wow, thank you. Dean.
Okay. This is a study for Psalm 22. I think I was caught in, Sherry, what you had talked of. This is kind of an outline of Israel and Palestine, and not. It's shifting borders and shifting grounds. Our psalmist, again, has been consumed in the arches of war, and this is about ultimate despair, that anguish of the first two phrases of the psalm. It's also important to me, I wanted to share this, is not to make a holiness of suffering, that suffering is suffering and anguish, and we may call to God or demand or ask those ultimate questions of why, but I think it's really important, and I think I touched on that before, the anger that accompanies that why, because I think it ultimately fuels us towards justice. So I'll leave it at that.
Wow. Harold, I'm just trying to see it. Is it possible to make it a little bit bigger? So talk about that match there. So that match is not.
He's always our psalmist.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who has seen war, you know.
But it's not, is the head of the match has not been lit?
Never lit, no. He keeps his head to
I see.
But-
Interesting.
and the others, you've seen him with gold or sometimes partially burned, but this one is ultimate despair. And the fire touches right at the bottom of the green. But has not consumed him yet. So this is an expression of ultimate despair, like, you know, why have you forsaken me?
Wow. Beautiful.
Only this part is the paper, right? The rest is the background, and even burnt all the way through. Wow. You're just endless. Your creativity is endlessly inexhaustible, Dean.
Yes, really amazing, Dean.
Really.
And this is the same size, right, as the others, or no? It seems smaller.
These are little studies. These are, I said, from 20 forward. I was doing these small studies.
I see. Okay.
So this is 8 inches by 10 inches, as opposed to 2 feet by 3 feet. But
beautiful.
It's a close-up of the psalmist. The psalmist is what I'm focusing on.
Wow.
Yeah. And see, this is where the power for me of Lecha Dodi and those words that I often focus on, how do we believe in the possibilities of this level of despair, but still believe in a future and have hope for a future. That's the challenge of all generations, maybe.
Wow. Thank you. Judy Frank.
Hi. Okay.
Hi. See you here.
Adonai, why have you left me all alone? When I call out to you in the morning, I am left with the whistling of the wind. My ancestors knew you, trusted you. You knew who they were too, seeing your face, not like me. Left in the ozone of forgotten days and forgotten dreams, just wanting to reach you today, not tomorrow. Finding myself in the isolation of my sister and parents, I felt myself off center, suffering from threats of ripping my skin open, pushing my bones around after cutting through muscles. Found to be stuck in the way, When I try to call out to you, my mouth seems open, but nothing comes out. Don't even know the words I could say to reach you. I have to write to try to ask for your blessing. I am lost in the unknowing. What's happening to my brain while I daydream my life away? My clothes are given away by those who make fun of me. Haunted by their renaming me Chester, I want to run away to the pine trees, save me from their vicious mouths. While I long for the sounds of my prayers to you, I know you hear them. You send comforting angels, may all earth sing your praise and know you. May you protect all souls for all time, and may you be praised by all who are alive in times to come. And that's it. Yeah.
That's it, right?
Sorry.
That's it.
Beautiful. Tell us about writing this from Psalm 22, Judith.
Well, whenever I hear one forsaken, I just go back to when I was young and I was lying there all alone, hugging myself. Was very painful. And I seem to go back there as like a trauma that's touched off. And then I write this and I sort of even react to it, and I have to control myself. Just try to get it together, because I do get reaction to even writing about it, you know.
Say some more about that.
Well, I don't want to act out and, start rumbling to people. I know I do this sometimes in the Havruta, and I say things that aren't related to what we're supposed to talk about. And I think, oh my God, I'm going off again. I don't know. It's very hard. The bullying, they called me Chester after that character on Gunsmoke, the man who was limping. And that really freaked me out. I used to always cry. And my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, would always try to protect me and scream at them. But I would just end up crying, which of course is the worst reaction to bullying, when you cry. But I couldn't control myself.
Well, this is so deep and so personal, and I love the way this is really so internal and so personal, and I think a lot of us relate to that. So it's powerful for others, not just for you. So thank you for putting that on paper.
You're welcome.
Beautiful, really powerful.
All right, Peter Klein is our next reader today.
Can I just check how the jackhammering is going? You don't hear it, or you hear
Don't
it?
hear it. It's fine.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. To my beloved brother David, the smoke hasn't cleared, but be assured there's nothing left of my village. I saw you briefly across the divide, squinting through your rangefinder, adjusting for distance. Your aim is still good. Kings divided us long ago, a sport for the ages. We trusted a God to rescue us, crying out despite the scorn of nations, the mockery so anciently embedded in speech that the mention of our names caused men to shake their heads and wonder, aren't they dead yet? I prostrate myself endlessly. God, tell me that I have been right. The children we've dedicated to Chemosh should be sacrifice enough, but he's not biting. We keep heaping up the pyres, and it's still not enough to satisfy the congregations of the faithful. That endless hunger. Every nightfall, my heart fails. God will call me to account, dismissing the tears I've wept, the shrouds we've lowered into endless graves. It's after midnight, and I'll admit only to you that I'm shaking in my bones, terrified by what we've done, gaining nothing. By day, my shows of bravery, my taunts, my angry fists, all righteous, and yet nothing changes the past or future. The blood anointing our heads mark us fools and lackeys, not kings. This letter may never reach you, so I keep a copy folded in my jacket. If they find me, don't let them throw my body into a nameless ditch to be picked apart by dogs, but save a place beside you among our family, separated long ago by anger and faith. Your loving brother, Ahmed.
Wow, Peter, speak to us.
Well, about the same time Sherry was conceiving her poem, I was sleepless for days with all the news of the Near East. And it was Ramadan, and I had just been with my Muslim friends celebrating the end. And this was going to be a letter between brothers. And of course, I have a brother, David, but I wanted it to be in a different voice. And that's, I mean, the agony of this irresolvable hatred that I'm hoping in my lifetime can be resolved, but I fear that there'll be total destruction during the same time. It's, yeah. I mean, I can't really speak without falling apart, but
Yeah.
it's from that nightmare. It's from that.
Uh-huh. And so for you, David here is a bit of a double reference then for your brother and for David of the Psalm?
My brother and I have a wonderful relationship, so it isn't in anger in any way, but it's kind of ironic, because as I read the Psalms and I think about King David, I think of the word usurper in a way that I never thought of before, and that pains me as well to think that we are that as well. But in the grave we become all one, but that we should be able to do so while we're alive.
Yeah, and we need the hate on all sides to be diminished, right? It's a complicated picture, but wow.
And it's endless.
Yeah. Well, I hope it isn't endless. But certainly that's how the psalm, you as the psalmist feel at this moment, and psalms do reflect those moments of bottomless despair. So that's a very powerful expression of that. Thank you, Peter.
And also,
and I do love that that I didn't know about your brother David first. So to hear it as a superscription, like we say, Mizmor LeDavid, and this is a letter to David. I love that.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Wow. Jeremy Lawrence.
Promise of the Dawn, adapted from Psalm 22. Oh God, God, God damn it, God, what did I do to deserve this? I am really pissed that you're ignoring me. My whole being roars with pain. I scream as I sweat in the sun and groan sleeplessly all night, but there is no respite. Police car lights glare on suddenly. I'm thrown against the car and frisked. I'm suspicious walking LA streets at night, but I'm released because I'm white. Scarier still, when my lover pummeled me, ayúdame, I cried out in my room to empty streets in Mexico. I allowed it because I felt sure that it would stop, or did I desire it? I am a worm, not a man. Inside me is the guilt of having survived while others died. COVID AIDS, a generation that walked to their death while mumbling prayers. My pains are nothing compared to theirs. I fantasize my garments being rent, my comfort stripped from me. Did I cling to the breasts of my mother? Do I yearn once again for her womb? I remember nothing of all that. 9 months, then screaming, thrust into day. Parents who said they loved you crumbled before you, taken away by their own self-crucifixions, just as I feel today. My loneliness for God makes me seek any end in sight. Take me out of my pain, Almighty God. Please bring my faith in you to an end. I am a dog encircled by rabid dogs slavering away, and by humanity despised. Now there is no help. I count my bones. I'm spilled out like water. I come apart. My heart melts like wax, dripping sloppily against my guts. My tongue cleaves to the roof of my mouth, dry, seared by the drought of life which is slipping away. I return once again to dust. I tear out my mother's hair in heaven, throw my drunken father to the floor. When the drug slipped me by my seducer was poisoning me no more, I had lost a whole day, but now I felt light against my eyes. Praise the light, you seed of Jacob. Be in awe, glorify. Adonai has not despised the supplication of the weak-hearted. God did not turn away. He knew I would awaken to him on this holy day. He set aside the Sabbath, but this day he saved from me. He has spread out a new banquet from which I must eat my fill, and for the rest of all my days I must do his will. Drunk, I still defied him. I fell and hit the floor. But then he defied me, and I was lifted up again. Yes, I was lifted up one time more.
Wow, Jeremy. Wow. So talk to us.
I don't know. I don't know. I let this rest within me. It troubled me, the transformation in the middle of the psalm. And I have interjected into the psalm a couple of personal moments when, God clearly rescued me, and still my own self-deprecation remains. And I don't want the challenge of believing, and I must accept that challenge.
Uh-huh. Your ability to maintain these tensions in language and in delivery is awesome. Really awesome, Jeremy.
Thank you.
The tension, the lack of simplistic or simple solutions, and the ability to just hold it all and to reflect it to us, really spectacular. You're
Thank
a
you.
gift, Jeremy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Neiman?
And I want to say also, Jeremy, I love the way you used a lot of those words and references from the original psalm. You absolutely are using the language of this ancient psalmist in ways that are completely contemporary.
Well, it's an amazing poem.
Yep, I think so too. It's often overlooked because it doesn't have some of the, but I think it is amazing too. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Jack Neiman? We know you're there, Jack.
Pardon me. A cry for help. Naked before you, Shekhinah, stripped bare, I cry out into a dark void, unheard, desolate. Where are you? Shekhinah's enduring nature protected me, fed me, clothed me, educated me, dried my tears, lavished many gifts. I cry out, Hamachom, unheard, desolate. Where are you? You love me, you say. Now I show you me. Share what others long celebrate and love. Your sting, don't bring that here. Where is Shekinah's unconditional love? I cry out, Hamachom, secluded, desolate. Where are you now? From you, Shekinah, conceived, formed, birthed, guided, you molded me a person, myself. Out from hiding, I remain guiltless, yet you hang me out before angry, ignorant mobs who yell, God hates faggots. I cry out, unheard, desolate, where are you now? You once held my hand, supported my first solo unsteady step into a wondrous unknown world, each small stride, trust growing stronger, quicker, wider, more lively, dancing after nightly chores in our farmhouse kitchen on that newly swept maroon linoleum floor. We danced a sweet pas de deux, the radio playing big band Benny Goodman. Now, your firm, warm hand withdrawn, your back turned, eyes, head, heart cast down. I stand uncertain, shivering, facing cold, disapproving glares, abandoned, drained, pale, parched, brittle, exposed, shattered heart, but strong in spirit, proud, pure. I cry out into an abyss, unheard, desolate. Where are you now? Jeering, bloodthirsty jaws, dripping hate surround, taunt, hungry Colosseum lions claw, mad bulls ring round with murderous intent. Do not cast lots for my affection, nor cast me out to jackals. I cry out, unheard, desolate, where are you now? Your jury's quick and pious judgment convicted, inflicted deep indelible pain, condemned an unprotected innocent, guilty of nothing, punished, vilified, devalued, like garbage disposed, abandoned in the street, cursed, bruised, buried, swept away, rejected, erased. Where is Shekinah's justice now? I try to understand what you cannot accept, looking only for acknowledgement of my place in the world, Hamakom. Each authentic role deserves to be played, applauded until the final curtain. No permission sought or needed. Revealed my triumph, not defeat. I bit your sweet forbidden fruit, no worm, blossoming to a delicious full-length unvarnished portrait, naked and unafraid, no shame to cover. Here I am, here we are, Shekinah. Help us shout out our lights to the world, hear and tell our authentic story, celebrate our truth from generation to generation, so all may rejoice, praise, dance, and sing together. Hear me, hear us, Hamakom.
Wow, Jack. Wow. Speak to us.
You know, I think it's on a personal level. It's just, you know, when you're coming out, you're alone, and you know you're that same person, and you cry out, and then you're just alone. It's until you find your people, until you find people who love you and support you. But the ones you want to love you and support you turn their back on you, and they liked you before, and then suddenly, so it's that aloneness, that cry for help. But in the end, because of your own truth and authenticity, you know, you're better for yourself, and then you're better for the world.
Yeah. That's so powerful how you related to that piece, that this psalm of being this expression of being forsaken in a way that's so understandable, and that fear of being completely abandoned is really powerful here. And we are the same people. Beautiful, really, really, really powerful.
Thank you.
So our next reader today is Ira Rosenblum.
Thank you. After Psalm 22, so you want to play hide and seek again? I have to tell you, Lord, I've grown tired of this game. Your hiding places are too distant, too elusive. You disappear for so long, and I get frustrated, angry. I just give up in despair. What do you get from this diversion? Does it assuage your loneliness, alleviate your boredom? Or do you get some kind of sadistic satisfaction from my feeling abandoned? Okay, I guess I'll play the game with you once more. After all, what other options are there? I'd prefer to take your hand and walk through the woods with you, or sit on the shore watching the sun do its dance on the waves. If that sounds appealing to you, please let me know. Meanwhile, my eyes are closed now, and I'm counting to 10. Just don't go too far, please.
Good sound.
Wow, Ira, I just love this. And I love expressing frustration right to God and to this business of distance and close. Beautiful. Talk to us.
Yeah, so you know, when I sat down to try and write my version of Psalm 22, I started to go in a complete direction. Sort of in a way, a little bit, I really related to Judith Frank in terms of thinking about my childhood and times in my life where things felt so hard and where I felt so abandoned, but it just wasn't working. I mean, came out like a list of grievances, that I would bring to a therapist or something. So I basically abandoned it and said, maybe I'm not going to do this. And then literally in the other day on Sunday, this just flowed through me. I mean, I literally was sitting at my computer doing something else, and all of a sudden these words just started to come, and it was like almost like automatic writing. I mean, I just did it basically in like 5 minutes. It just flowed out of me. And obviously, like many others who've read their Psalms, the feeling of abandonment by God that is in the original Psalm is very powerful and really touches very deep nerves. But in this, there's also for me it's almost like, giving God some human quality of, it's like, why are you doing this? Like, are you bored? Are you, are you playing with me? What's the deal here? There's a real exploration for me of that kind of relationship with God that felt a little different than some of the other Psalms that I've written. So I guess that's what it was.
And probably last year you couldn't have written this Psalm. Like, you've gone through a journey of how you write and how you reflect and where you go with it. And that's part of the mystery of creativity, right? It just takes a lot of involvement. And I see such incredibly depth of developing deeper and deeper and deeper ways of expressing all of these feelings that I just love so much. I just love it. And that's the mystery of creation, of being creative, isn't it? You can struggle and think, and then all of a sudden you sit down and it's there. And it's not that the moment you write it is the only time your body isn't working on it. You've been working on it ever since you tried to come up with something. And fantastic. I think it's a great, great take on it. And I think it's a deep part of the Psalms is also saying, and I think you could even see it in the Lama Azavtani, like why are you forsaken? You could also, if the accent is a little different, right? The emphasis is a little different with a little different of a Yiddish. Why are you forsaking me? Like, what have I done wrong? You could actually, it could, even the words themselves of that famous line, my God, why have you forsaken me? You could do it in all different ways that include this energy of your Psalm, like the chutzpah of it. What have I done wrong? Where are you? We're doing this one again? So it could even be in the way you read the very words of the Psalm, I think.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Ira. I love it.
Thank you.
Ben Shafran. Ben?
Is Ben here today?
Is Ben here? Do we see Ben? Well, let's go to our next reader then, Lori Spear, and we'll come back to Ben if he comes.
I don't see him in the list.
Okay.
Yeah, he was here. He must have dropped
off. Okay. We'll make room for him whenever he comes back.
Yes. Lori.
Okay, this is not in response to any one Psalm. It's just
where you are.
Where I am.
Good.
Psalms. The prosecutor begins a summation. I would like to remind the jury what we have heard from the defendant. I would like to remind the jury what we have heard about the defendant. According to David, the chief witness for the defense, the defendant is the creator of the world and all its forces, all-knowing and all-powerful, compassionate, a lover of justice, meting out punishment to the wicked, extending support to the weak, a shelter for the righteous, a fortress for the oppressed. I would suggest that the facts prove otherwise.
Ooh, I love this. Fabulous, Lori. Speak to us.
So I love this class. I love everything that I'm learning. But the Psalms seem aspirational. And it kind of, I'm always torn between the aspiration of the psalmist and what I see in the world, which is lack of justice.
Yep.
So I couldn't really try to be beautifully poetic. I just had to be very direct because I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I don't see the I don't see the parental affection
Uh-huh.
for people that I have been repeatedly taught to expect, and I just don't see it.
Well, you are in good Jewish tradition, and this anger and disappointment and frustration with God as failing is completely a very Jewish. There are some very famous prayers we have written by some of the most famous Hasidic Rebbes that say almost exactly what you have in this psalm, and I'll try and find some for you when I get a chance. But this is a part of the it's about being in relationship, even if the relationship is saying you have failed us. That anger at God is completely appropriate.
I just want to make one more comment.
Sure.
After I wrote it, and then it sat for a long time before I submitted it, because I wasn't sure that I really wanted to do this. But then I remembered hearing about a trial that took place where the inmates put God on trial.
Aha.
And I said, shit, if they can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely. And Jews have been doing it. This is I just want you to know that this is far from being outside of the acceptable in Jewish prayer, in Jewish philosophy, and in Jewish, this is completely right on. So I'm glad you submitted it, and I think it's perfect.
Thank you very much.
There's a multi, I really love it, Lori, and I'm very glad you're in the class, and I think this is really powerful.
Thank you.
We don't have Kool-Aid here, Lori, okay? I'm not giving out Kool-Aid, okay? What I want is that I believe the Psalms can inspire each of us, wherever we are on the spectrum of humanity, to have a response, and whatever that response is legitimate. I promise, I have no Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
I have great granola, but no Kool-Aid.
Shepherd Wanan.
Yeah, I've decided to read it myself without Sherry.
Oh, Shep,
I
fantastic.
just figure I step up.
Wow, Sherry, what do you do? Wow, okay,
Whatever.
Shep, we want to hear that.
Okay, mine's a lot different.
Okay, Shep, but stop floating into the universe, please. You get me dizzy, okay?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my God, have you really abandoned me? But you are the glory of Israel, and I am of Israel. My ancestors believed in you. My fathers trusted in you, and my mothers worship you. I believe in you and trust in you and worship you as well. Won't you hear my cries as you heard theirs? I am fragile and weak. My life may be slipping away. No one but Adonai can save me now. Am I at death's door? No, I am not, for the God of Israel rescued me from the lion's jaw. Then I will sing out and praise the Lord for saving a lowly worm like me. Tell all people, even those yet unborn, of the mercy of our God.
Beautiful, Shep, and so nice to hear your voice. So, Shep, tell us about writing this and tell us how Psalm 22 inspired you.
Well, I feel really like an outlier because
Shep, you're upside down here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like God did not abandon me, and I hate to go back to that near-death experience. I'm going to avoid it from now on, but it really was very pivotal in my life. And Rabbi, you experienced it with me.
Yes.
And I just really feel I was not abandoned, almost abandoned, but not really. And I just feel I feel a little embarrassed that I put a positive spin on it. I don't feel abandoned. I feel like I was saved. And And as a metaphor, I think we all will be, including Israel, and all of us will be saved ultimately by our God.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily, I think the twist on that, Shep, which is I think you're also an example of that, it doesn't mean we'll end up the same we imagine we want to be. You lost your arm.
Oh, never the same.
Right. So the question is, can you go through that kind of pain and loss and still feel gratitude? Not everybody, it's not for me to say what another person should do, but another person in your situation, Shep, might have come through that and experienced only the loss.
You know, Rabbi,
and you're not giving yourself enough credit, Shep, that you went through it and found a way to see the possibilities of living, even though you lost your arm.
You said these words to me when I was laying there dying after the operation. You said, I am not the loss of my arm. I'm more than that. And I took those words, and I actually look back that although it was a rough summer, it was really in a way the best time, because I got through it.
Mm-hmm.
I proved myself. I wrestled with the angel of death, and I prevailed.
Yeah.
And I think it made me a better person. So
and there will be a time,
good.
And there will be a time, Shep, where you won't prevail, and it still is part of what life is, right? We're all going to die someday.
Like the Psalms. Well, yeah,
Yep.
ultimately, I guess.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep.
Thank you, Rabbi. It was
Thank
great.
you, Bubala. Thank
Thanks for
you.
helping me.
Thank you.
All right, since Ben is not here, we have time for one more. We have time for Donna Gray. All right, hold on, let's find it. Donna, are you here and ready to go?
Yes.
Go ahead.
For the conductor in the sky, a psalm of Davida. Oh God, my God, why have you forsaken me? I keep calling out to you, but it's all in vain. Hear me in my anguish, comfort my soul. I cry out for your help in the daylight, but you don't answer me. I cry out in the dark of night, but still you are not there. My mother and my mother's mother, all the mothers of generations past, trusted in you. You were their salvation. Am I not my mother's daughter? I know I am a lowly creature, too big for my britches. When others put me in my place, I hide my head in shame and crawl back into my hole. I fear their judgment when they mock me, so I don't show my face. Better the safety of solitude for the outcast. It is to you that I call out, now that I am a motherless child. You have been with me always, even before I sojourned in my mother's womb. Do not abandon me now when I am in need of your help. I am surrounded by ferocious beasts who want to eat me alive. I am too weak to fight them off alone. My bones are brittle, my heart is broken. My throat is so dry that I choke on my words. I am besieged by bullies who want to throw me away because I do not mirror them. Like rabid dogs, they want to bite me into oblivion. They have bound me to the stake. Already licking their chops, they cast lots for the clothes off my back. Like Nazi thieves, they want to appropriate my life and hang it on their walls. I plead for mercy, they laugh. I squirm, their delight increases. But I know you are not far away. You are the source of my strength and the strength of my life. Come to my aid, Mother God. Swoop down from the heavens and carry me away to the land of my dreams, where peace prevails and justice reigns, where kindness is king and respect regal. I will sing and sing your praises out loud for all to hear. I am persecuted just for being who I am, but you honor me back into fullness. I will praise your name forever, long after I cease to exist. You invite all the marginalized to your table and offer us nourishment. You breathe life back into our weary souls. It is to you that we turn when abused by the intolerant. You always have room for us when we knock on your door. Haters will hate, believing they can lift themselves up by bringing others down. If only they could see that what they despise, if only they could see what they despise for what it is, a projection of their own self-hatred. Open their eyes, Mother of the Universe, to the truth that we are all one. All of us must be saved, or none of us will be. The dead sing your praises from their graves. Those of us on our way to the grave rest in your embrace, for however long our stay may be in the land of the living. Oh God, my God, to you I give my life. I pray for justice and surrender to your wisdom. I
Wow.
will thy will. May the self-righteous be treated to a generous portion of humble pie. May you, the Holy One who makes peace in the heavens, descend on us. And when you do, the world will say, Amen.
Wow, Donna, this is a tour de force. Wow. Speak to us.
Well, you know, this time I wanted to go, you know, with, I used Manda and
Uh-huh.
Alter.
Uh-huh.
And I just went to each verse, and you know, I just, you know, like the worm thing, you know, like crawling back into my hole. I mean, my father actually told me to go back in my hole.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know, so like there's personal history and you know, and you know, so many of, you know, okay, so I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, I'm a Jew, older, I'm short, you know, you know, like you couldn't get me for everything, you know, but you know, and so, you know, the marginalized, you know, we you know, there's something for me where like I know that so much of how I relate to whatever happens is all in my mind, you know, no matter what's happening externally. And I can so easily fall into despair.
Yeah.
But I can also, if I turn my gaze inward in the right direction, I can be lifted up too.
Wow.
I have one question. You know, there were a couple of allusions to songs that I put in there. So, you know, Ira texted me and asked if it was intentional that I put a line from Higher Praise in there. You know, you are the source of my strength and the strength of my life. And yes, it was intentional. And then there is another song whose lines I alluded to at the end. You know, may the one who makes peace in the heavens descend on us. Amen. So my question is, you know, like, is that okay to just lift lines from songs?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something.
Sarah
Beethoven.
Siegel does it in every one.
Yeah. Yes. Classical composers lift lines of music. Beethoven does it. They, you know, it's absolutely cool. It's not plagiarism. If you were to publish a critical edition and you wanted to let people know you could do that, but it's really okay. Because you're not, sometimes people will do it in a poem with italics in order to indicate that. But it happens all the time in art. People are always quoting each other in art. Sometimes painters will quote another painting. Sometimes,
and even lines of music are lifted.
Absolutely, Beethoven did it. All different. There are people on this call who know classical music better than I do. You can hear in different people's.
No, maybe I like that idea of putting italics.
I hate to do this. We're at 10:48.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we have to
wrap this up. You and I can discuss it.